In today's video, I'll show you how to make these sleeves using the Sentro knitting machine. These sleeves are super warm, and because we're using the machine, it works up super fast. So this one I have is 48 pins, and apparently they have 22, 32, and 40 as well. So this sleeve has 24 stitches, which means you can use the one that has 32, 40, or 48. So this is the yarn I used. It is an 8-ply yarn, which means it is weight 3. So you want to use a yarn that is of the same weight. You don't want to go too thick. And I also have the white color here for it. So 2 colors, both weight 3. You'll also need scissors and a yarn needle to sew up the seam. And if you want to work on the edge here, or on this end as well, this is the cuff end, but I'll crochet around this edge. So if you want to do that, you'll need a crochet hook, and this one I'm using is a 4.5mm, but if you don't have 4.5, a 4mm or 5mm could do as well. So before I started, I made sure this button is set to P as in panel. Then I went to the first hook, which is the white one. So to make the sleeve, I cast on 24 stitches. I started with the black color. And to cast on, I just placed the yarn under that hook and then start turning the handle. So for this cast on round, make sure the yarn is under one hook, behind the next, and then under the next hook. So I use the numbers here. The white hook is actually number 48, and the first 2 hooks are not gonna have stitches. So the stitch actually starts with number 3, which means I'll need to keep casting on like this to number 26. Because if I cast on 26, the stitches on the first 2 hooks are not gonna be there, so that'll leave me 24 stitches. For number 26, the yarn is under the hook. So after that, I hooked the yarn in this little thing here, and then here as well. So for hook number 26 here, to make sure you have a stitch on that hook, you need to keep turning until the yarn goes under this little ridge right after hook number 26. So like that. And then I can turn the handle in the other direction, going back. Because this stitch is the edge stitch, I need to keep a tight tension here. So I was just pulling my yarn like that while I go back. So I turned all the way back until I can't turn this handle anymore, which is normal because we're making a panel. That was row 2. And then I just kept turning back and forth like that. And again, when I go to this end, I need to make sure the yarn is under this ridge after number 26, the last stitch. So I kept working like that, back and forth, and made 20 rows in black before I switched to the white color. So after 20 rows, I came back to the beginning, and to change color, I simply just take the yarn out and put the yarn in the circle. And next I grab the white color and hook it on the white hook, just like how I started the cast on. I made sure both yarns are hooked under the first hook just to secure the first stitch. And then I started turning my handle the other way, and that's how you change color. So for this sleeve, I made 20 rows black, 20 rows white, 20 rows black again, 20 rows white again, and then 30 rows black. And this 30 rows is gonna be the sleeve cuff side. So after row 30, the last 30 rows of black, I unhook the yarn and just hold it loosely like that. And move the handle in the opposite direction one more time. I cut the yarn and then thread my yarn through all the loops. I left the long tail because I wanted to use this yarn to fasten off all the stitches and also sew the sleeve seam to turn this panel into a tube. And that's how I did the sleeves. So the stitches on the bottom is pretty much fastened off, but I want a little bit flare at the bottom, so I pulled this edge like that. And then I fastened off at this corner. I needed to make sure this yarn didn't move, wouldn't get pulled. So I basically just tied a knot in the last stitch. And then I used the yarn needle to sew up this seam. I already have a tutorial on this, so I'm not going to repeat myself here. And with this method I show you in the tutorial, the finished result looks like this. You can choose to use white yarn to sew up the white part and black to sew up the black. But as you can see, even if you use the opposite color, it doesn't really show. So for this sleeve, I just used the black yarn for the whole seam. So after the seam, you might want to do this edge as well. This is the one near the shoulder. Actually, it's really hard for you to see, so I'm gonna make a sample with white yarn so you can see this edge. I'm just gonna make this edge and I'll show you what to do. Okay, so I have the little swatch here I just made. Pretend this is this edge. You wanna start by making a slip knot. Grab this yarn, pull it through. So the front of the seam, these are the two columns. 1, 2. See these two loops on the top? That's the first one I'm going to work in, that's the last one. For the first one, I'm going to insert my hook like that. This is the yarn that's going through the loops. You can just ignore that, but I made sure that yarn is above my hook so it can be wrapped in the stitches. And then you're going to grab your slip knot, put it on your hook, and then pull it through. Chain 1, pull it through. And then I'm going to go back in the first loop again, also under this yarn over, pull it through. Two loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through 2. And that's a single crochet. So that's the stitch I'm going to work around this edge. So you're going to find the second column, next loop here, insert like that, and always include this yarn as well. And then you yarn over, pull it up, yarn over, pull through 2. That's the second single crochet. Continue doing this, insert your hook, pull yarn up, yarn over, pull through 2. So you can just work like this around this edge. Okay. so I worked my way back, and that is the last column, so that's the last loop. I'm going to work a single crochet in that stitch as well. And then I'll find the first single crochet, which is this one, insert in the top 2 loops. Yarn over, pull it through, and pull that one through this. That's a slip stitch. And then after that, you can chain 1, pull it through, cut this yarn, pull it through, and then fasten this yarn off. And that's what this edge will look like here.